Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I'm tired. Having little kids, I'm an older mom, as a lot of you know. I'm going to be elderly when they have like sports games and stuff. I'm going to sit in the stands and just be like, if I go to one of my daughter's soccer games, I'll be like, you need to score a goal. Somebody get me a pad for under my ass. I'm leaking. I'm going to be very old. And it is what it is. I mean, I'm so grateful because also I have 4 girls, so they're really going to take care of me when I'm older. I mean, let's face it, the girls really do stick around and take care of you. And just, they're all going to probably have a good life because they're gorgeous. So that's really helpful that they're all so pretty. I'm very, very grateful for that. That's all that matters. I don't care if they're personable, if they're kind. I just want them to be hot. It's really all I care about. So I am tired because I'm up a lot. I mean, I don't get up during the night a lot. I tell people I do because it sounds horrible that I don't, but I don't get up. I hear them crying because I have anxiety. It's a lot of times I think I hear like, but it's just my brain thinking that I hear it, and then I wake up and I look and there's 2 bassinets in the room. I have twin babies. Oh, it's just exhausting. And I ate last night, so I'm tired from that too. I ate a roll that I told myself was 2 points in Weight Watchers, but it was like a fucking 6-foot long hoagie roll. And what else did I have? I had popcorn. And do you think that the bag of the popcorn is a lot of calories? Because I ate the plastic bag that it came in. And I don't even know if that's going to come out. Like, I don't know if that's going to expand like a tarp in my stomach because there's a lot of room. Face it, I'm not going to ever have a small stomach, and I don't care. At a certain point, you don't care anymore. I just don't. So there's probably a lot of things in my stomach. I've eaten a lot of strange things. I know there's a tool belt. I can't even believe I'm admitting this now, but our cat, everyone thought that he ran away, but I ate Lulu. And I was missing a shoe for like 6 months, and then I realized that I had eaten that too during a binge because I had a really bad set that night. So I have a shoe, Lulu, and a tool belt inside of me that have never come out. And it is what it is. No one's perfect. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I just appreciate your support. So thank you for listening, and please welcome Chloe Hilliard. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Relatively Sane. I'm here with Chloe Hilliard. I am so excited to have you here.
Me too. We don't see each other often, but when we do, we just connect. It's just so great.
I feel like you're someone I could have grown up with in my hometown.
For sure.
Where did you grow up again?
Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Remember we did that video on the airplane? I
can't wait. But you have such great stories about the way you were brought up, and is it just you have siblings?
I do, but my brother and I are 15 years apart, so
wow.
I did that all by myself. I was alone in the Jewish world. And I didn't have anybody to like kind of relate to. So I grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and the apartment complex that I grew up in was all Hasidic Jewish people, families, and maybe I want to say like 10% were not. So it would be me and a handful of other like black and brown kids, and we would just hang out with each other. But most times I would just be hanging out with my Jewish neighbors because they would be in a hallway playing because they love a good hallway, and I would be out there.
I can't take it. They love a good hallway.
And they'll be out there just like, doing the dreidel and
doing the dreidel.
And jacks and the paddle ball. I used to play a mean paddle ball.
I love paddle ball.
If you're watching the video, you see my paddle ball.
Yeah, that's good. I can't believe what That's an amazing paddle
And
ball.
the
What
paddle
you just,
ball.
I actually am. I grew up on that too. With
Yeah.
that too, I
Mhm.
love paddle ball.
Love it.
Is it still around?
I just bought one at like a novelty toy store, but it
Oh.
didn't have the same pop. It didn't have the same elasticity.
They're
so it was
probably
like,
electric now or
yeah,
something.
Yeah.
It's like a laser.
Mm-hmm. And so I would just hang out with them and play with them in the hallway. I would bring my Barbie dolls out and they would play with them and like, fold their shirts, and then I would go back home.
They would keep your Barbies covered.
Yeah.
Wait, okay. I need to ask you a question. I need you to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys talk about the Hasidic people? I'm sorry, you had to have.
Where? With
What, growing up with the other black and brown people? I mean,
we just thought, okay, so
yeah. What did you think? Because I have opinions about it because I'm not religious.
We didn't really understand the religious aspects. We just thought of the cultural aspects. So we would look at them like how you look at Amish people, like, oh, look at them with their horse and carriage. Like, oh, look at them just not a part of modern day society.
Right.
Like they're just in their own little world. So we look at it like, oh, not poor them, but like, oh, that's their thing. And we're vastly different. And you kind of would sympathize. Like I would ask my mom, like, how come they don't have TV or stuff like that? And then one day one of my neighbors was coming home and she had a bag and it fell and she had Blockbuster videos. And I went to help her. My mother was like, come back. Don't help her. She's not supposed to have that. Like you're embarrassing her. And I was like, here's your Dirty Dancing. Like, she was like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they try to sneak it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I always wonder what people think that aren't in the community. I think I'm more patient, not patient, more accepting of it because I'm Jewish and I understand. It's always been like I've understood the religious people, even though I'm not a part of it. But I always wonder what people think that are around them that
I just thought they were like their own subset within the religious. I thought they were like not extremists, but they lived a very extreme version of Judaism. And then it wasn't until I got older where I started like seeing like documentaries or meeting people who used to be Orthodox to really understand like just like how rigid the faith was and just like pretty much like how oppressed they are. And when you get older and then I saw a documentary recently, I can't remember the name of it, but a woman, she was telling a story how she divorced her husband because he was abusive and like how the whole community turned on her. Yeah. And then she was talking about like what they actually, because I always knew that the kids weren't learning shit in school. I knew that. Like I was like, they're not learning what we learned. They're learning their own version of the world. They're
learning about Judaism. Yeah, really, and their own version, right?
Yeah, of history of whatever it is. And so when she was pointing out like the school books and showing that they cross out like all the girls' faces and stuff like that, you're just like, oh, I can't take it. That oppressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and I think in any extreme religion, it is. Yeah. Did you feel judged by them?
No, because they all knew me. Like they still know me now. My family's been there since before I was born. My parents, when they first got married, the complex was new, so they moved. And they were like, "Oh, we moving up. We got a nice little apartment in this Jewish neighborhood. It's so clean." And then they started having like 15 kids. They was like, "Loud as hell. Might as well be in the projects." So
it's worse.
It's worse.
More kids, more craziness.
Kids, and then they involve you in their nonsense because they ring their doorbell to help them do stuff on sundown on Sabbath.
Oh, I know. I
have a joke about it. I did that joke on Last Comic Standing.
I love that so much because when Danielle and I were in the hospital with my daughter, when my daughter has heart disease, when she had heart surgery, there were Orthodox women there that had babies that were in the ICU. And they asked Danielle, not me because I'm Jewish, even though I'm a sinner because I'm married to a woman. Yeah. They asked Danielle to turn on their breast pumps. Isn't that
Wait, did they know you were Jewish?
Yeah, because I wore a Jewish star at the time, and I always saw them look at it. Okay. It's so funny. So they would ask you to turn on appliances and do that?
All the time.
That is so...
that's a real thing. Like I know. Even now, they still code everybody, like pretty much everybody on my parents' floor, they know my parents because they go to them to do stuff. Well, the weirdest thing I ever had to do was a little kid, he was running and he hit his head on the wall and like a nail was out and he like got like a little puncture, but it wasn't like crazy. It was just a little puncture. So I had to push him in the stroller to like the local like doctor, and I was like 4 blocks away, and I was like, you can't even push your own kid? Come on now, that's crazy.
And they have a lot.
Yeah, they do have a lot.
I mean, some have 10, 15. It's really...
the reason why I liked going to the apartments when they needed me to do stuff normally was like turn the stove on or off or like flame up, because what they do is they keep the flame on the whole time of Sabbath so they can just always cook if they need to cook so they don't have to turn it on. Then I would have to like answer the phone. They would call me to answer the phone.
You became a receptionist.
Yeah, to answer the phone. Cause it's like, I remember when I would answer the phone, it was because like someone was in the hospital having a baby. So they were like, so did she have the baby? And they'd be like, oh, she had the baby. And they'd be like, yeah. And I would just be like, yeah, I'm like 12. And I would turn the AC on and stuff like that. One time it was Hanukkah and one of the candles fell over and it started a little fire and they came and knocked on my door. I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? Call a goddamn fire department. Why? I'm not putting out a fire.
This is a really funny idea for a sitcom, by the way. You living with Hasidic Jews in a building. It's really interesting.
It is.
So your parents still live there?
Yeah, they still live there.
And they're still together?
Yeah, I know. They've been
How does
married
that happen?
over 40 years.
Wow.
I know. I don't know how they do it.
They have a good marriage?
No. It's not, you know what it is? It's not bad, but it's not romantic. You know, like how
yeah.
It's not like, it's like a marriage. It's not like, oh, you're the best thing. And, you know, they don't tear up when they see.
No, it's a contract.
Yeah, it's like, my dad said it to me in such a weird way. And I know he said it, but it was like so funny to me. He goes, you know, after a certain point, you end up, it's like, you're like siblings.
Yeah.
Like you've been together. You just know everything about each other. There is a romantic love. But also I think in America, especially in Western civilization, we don't talk about the different types of love. And I think, you know, you think about like the Greek concept of love, there's different types of love. And I think after 20, 30, 40 years, it changes into a different type of love.
I so agree with you. Yeah. I really do. I think you can still be in love with someone and love them, but not want to be with them physically anymore, or you just become like companions.
Yeah. They are definitely companions. Like even if they're not around each other for like a while, they'll like get bummed out, you know.
Aww.
But then it's just like one of those like, you know, he gets on my nerves. Your mother gets on my nerves. And I think it's like now me and my brother are adults. They can just like complain to us. But then we're just like, well, then leave each other then. And we're like, I can't do that.
Well, because at this point, what's
out there?
Yeah. What?
I'm single. I'm 39. I keep saying I'm almost 40. I just turned 39, but I'm rounded up because nobody gives a fuck about 39.
Yeah, you got to round it up anyway. It's just
more. It sounds more dignified.
It
almost
does.
40 sounds way better. 39
than 39 doesn't sound great, but almost 40 sounds cool.
It sounds cool. Like, oh, look at you. You almost 40?
You're a grown woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
But like even me is like dating. I'm like, I don't know what the hell is out here. Like if I was in a relationship that long with somebody, I would just be like, listen, we're just gonna kick.
Please don't. Let's not talk. I mean, it's fine. You don't have to leave, but I just can't. Mm-hmm. I know. What are you looking for in a guy?
I think I haven't really thought about that in a while because I used to really obsess about what I wanted, and I would have like a list of things, especially like when you're in your 20s and you're trying to get married. For some reason, I think women want to be married by like late 20s, 30, 32, 33. You're like, oh, I got to hurry up. Mm-hmm. And so I used to have like this idea of what I wanted to mate, but I think it's changed now. Because I know what I have done with myself as far as like what I've worked on, as far as like trying to heal issues. I started going to therapy. So I don't think I need the things I used to think I needed in a person anymore. So right now I think I want someone who is truly a partner, and I would frame it as that. Like I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for a boyfriend or a husband. I want someone who can complement what I already have going on in my life, and who could be supportive of me, and who kind of understands it, because I don't want to have to explain everything. So like if they are like, you know, entertainment adjacent, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Someone who has a good family background, because even though, you know, my parents get on each other's nerves, I still know what it is to come from two parents, and that's like a whole different dynamic.
It is.
And I've dated people who hate their parents, like hate their mom, or dad was never there.
Not good when a guy hates their mom.
Not good at all.
Not good.
And I dated them long time, like over a year ago, but the last two guys that I dated, very short term, both had very bad relationships with their mom.
Yeah.
And you realize as you get older that this is like, oh, this can manifest in other ways.
It does, if they don't work through it.
Yeah. And of course they're not gonna work through it. Like one of the guys was like, I know my problem, but he was like, I know what my problem is. And I was like, and continue. And he was like, yeah, no, I just, you know, if I need to go, I'll go talk to somebody. And I was like, I think you need to go talk to somebody.
Right. You have to be in a relationship, idiot.
Yeah. And so that's why I decided to, like, once I finished writing my book, I decided like I need to go to therapy before the book comes out, because my book is my life. And I know that once it's out there in the world and people start taking it in and having their own opinions about it, I need to not have that affect me. So I needed to work on my issues and work on my confidence.
I love that.
All of that other stuff so that I will be secure in whatever you have to say about my book or my life, it wouldn't really impact me like that.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna get into the book soon because it's great. I read passages from it and I loved it. And you're just brilliant and an incredible writer. My God, I was surprised, like not surprised. That's not my thing. I've been approached to write a book and it's so intimidating to me.
Yeah.
So when someone writes really well and I read it, I'm like, wow, this is a talent. It really is.
Thank you.
It's a whole different thing than doing stand-up or anything. It
is. Because it's
really,
so long form and you have to, like with a joke, you can like get into it and get out of it so quickly. But when you're writing, you have to like sit in the thing.
Oh,
I know. And like
and
agonize.
keep getting, don't you have to keep getting feedback and stuff?
Yeah. You go like through 2 rounds of edits, but like even just imagine like taking like a 5-minute joke and then try to turn it into like 5,000 words. And you're just like, sitting here for a while.
So what do you feel like growing up? Do you feel like you had depression or anxiety?
Oh, for sure.
Now which one more or both, or what's your...
I was depressed more. I would say depressed more. So anxiety to me is like, like the fear of the unknown. And I didn't really worry about that to me as much as like being accepted in the present. And so I was never really accepted. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I was theoretically bused to like a bougie black school. Like we didn't have like yellow school buses in where I was, but I would take 2 buses. So it was like 45 minutes on public transportation every day to get to like, for like, like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes. My mother would take me to school. And then as I got older, around like 3rd grade, she would take me to school, but I would come home by myself. And I went to like school with the Cosby kids. So it was like, and my family was like working class. And so, my mother worked in the department store. My dad was like a youth, like a troubled youth counselor. Oh, and then I went to school. Yeah. And then I went to school with kids who was like, my dad's an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, like, business owner, blah, 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 blah. So I didn't fit in with them necessarily. And then I didn't know any of the cultural things that kids knew growing up because I grew up in a Jewish community, the only child. So they were listening to hip hop and rap, and I'm listening to like Al Jarreau and Anita Baker.
That's what I listen to.
That's what my parents. Yes, my parents listened to.
That's what I
got like 2 cassette tapes when I was a kid. I had Bobby Brown, My Prerogative, and Janet Jackson, Control. Those are the only tapes I had from like 1st grade to like 4th grade.
Yeah.
And I would play them. And every year in school, elementary school, like the end of the school year, you would have like a class party. Yeah. And you would bring your music and they were like, here she go, these 2 fucking tapes, these same tapes again, Chloe, again. And I'm like, my prerogative.
So basically the depression was more because you didn't fit in and you've never, do you feel like you fit in now?
No.
I don't either.
I don't. And it's weird because I'll be in a conversation with people and I'll be talking and in my mind, I'm like, what am I doing here?
Isn't that interesting?
I don't feel connected to anything that's happening right now.
You don't feel a part of any group?
I do. I mean, I feel a part of like my core group of friends.
Right. That's what I was thinking about.
The guys that I hang out with. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And in that core group of friends, I have a role. I'm the mother figure. I'm the dominant older woman, and they come to me for advice. So there was a time when we all was just getting started in comedy where they would stay at my place, like legit. It was like a hostel. Like I would have like 5 of the guys that come because they all kind of were commuting from like Philly and other places of Jersey, and so they would like crash at my place, and it was fine. And we were all broken, struggling, and sharing wings at the cellar together.
Yeah. So
that was like but that's like years of me being with him. But like if I walk into a room, I'm trying to find somebody that I know, or I'm going to go sit down and observe and then like figure out who I feel the most comfortable talking to. I mean, that's just me being like an introvert, but I never assume that people are happy to have me there.
Me either. Isn't that funny? And then it's depressing to me because I know a lot of that is because of me. Like it's not real.
Yeah.
From doing work. I know that people do like to see me and want to see me, but I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this yesterday. I was in yoga. I hadn't been to hot yoga in months. And so I'm laying there and I was like, am I fun? Like, am I a fun person?
I love that you're laying in hot yoga.
I was like, I don't think I'm fun. I'm going to call my best friend and ask her, am I fun? Like, am I fun? I need to do more fun things. because I don't really do fun things, because I think when you are a person who's been in situations like me, like when you're constantly trying to prove yourself and gain acceptance, I feel like you become a very task-driven person to show accolades, so people respond to the accolades. It's like, look, I did this thing, and then people are like, oh, that's a great thing, versus like, no, this is just my personality. And you're just like, that. I feel like that might not be enough, so I always work to do something to get people attracted to whatever I produced or manifested.
I get that,
like,
totally.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be good to just like make a goal to do something fun every week, like
I know.
one thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
It's important.
It
really is.
And also the other thing about it that doesn't help is that we do comedy. So when you're in comedy, it's like your nights are work. And that's when
and your
everybody
days
else,
you're worrying about your night work.
Or trying to write something,
Yeah.
or like, you know, working on a project, or just doing a podcast, or whatever it is. Like, this is all like busy work for us to help us feel like we're still sharpening our knives, so that when we perform at night, we're like, okay, this is my nighttime is a culmination of all the things that I did today and I've been working on for the past whatever, however time. But we don't have the access to just do social things because we're working.
And I don't want to a lot.
I don't want to either. And
I'm
so
lazy.
when I don't, I just sit at home and I watch shows, and that's it.
I know. Well, that's the problem. I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
What got you into comedy? What made you do?
I never wanted to be a comedian.
Yeah, me either.
I never thought about it.
Yeah.
I got into comedy because I was a journalist and I wanted to transition from print and web to television. So I took a class so I can become good in front of the camera and be funny and witty and ask funny questions. I was like I would look at Ellen and be like, oh, I just love how she talks to people. She's so funny and so quick. And I was like, I want to do that. And then I took the class and did the graduation show, and then after that everybody was like, when's your next show? And I was like, I did not.
We have a similar, that's
plan.
exactly what happened for me. I did the graduation show and was like, I guess I'll do it again. I just started doing open mics, and
then it was like, oh my gosh, I have a show this month.
I know, everything was wrapped around that one show.
Yeah, that one you were calling people. I have one show.
How were your parents with you being a stand-up?
At first, they did not understand it because my personality up until that point never exuded anything that was funny. Like I was sarcastic. I was a sarcastic. I still am. But like, I'm the person in the room that I would say something hilariously funny to the person next to me, and they would start cracking up, and people were like, what happened? They'd be like, Chloe said something funny, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. That was me. Like, even when I played basketball, like I would get in trouble because I would say something in practice, and they, like, my teammates who hear me would crack up.
Yeah.
Like one time, the funniest thing I remember saying, like a friend of mine from basketball in college, she got married, we went to her wedding, and we're sitting there, and it's like this nice little like country like house, you know, big windows, like, you know, like on some resort golf course type of thing.
Yeah.
She was white.
I just was going to say she was definitely white with everything you're describing.
Yeah. And so it's like, so
everyone was wearing a hood.
Right. And so the funny thing is, like, whenever we go to our old teammates' family events, basketball, you know, players, and they get married and stuff, it's always weird because it's always us black girls from the basketball team, and then people would be like, oh, you must be from the basketball team. It'll be 20 years later, like, because the only time she had black friends is when she played basketball. So you're from the basketball team, right? You went to NYU? Yeah, of course. I've heard. So we always like sit together, whatever. So we were sitting there, and I'm sitting in the row, and the wedding is getting started, and there's a harpist, and she's playing. She's terrible. And I just like said to myself, I was like, oh, she must have came with the place. And everybody around me busted out laughing as the harp is doing a solo and the bride is about to walk down the aisle. And I'm like, well, y'all shut up. Like, so that's the type of stuff. And it's just me being me. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm going to say this and be funny. I just say things and people are like, you're hilarious.
It's the way your mind works.
Yeah.
And then you just say it out loud.
Mm-hmm. And then people are like, you're funny. And I'm like, okay. So when I became a comedian, or when I got interested, my parents were like, we'll see we'll see what happens. But it wasn't like, yeah, I totally see that for you. Like, I have a cousin. She was like, I never thought you were funny.
You're like, I've never liked you. No.
So I never thought I thought I would be a comedian, but then once I got into it, I realized that certain things in my life kind of led me down that way. Like when I was younger, my mom would let me watch Def Comedy Jam on New Year's Eve. They would have like a marathon, and I would be like 12, 13. My best friend would come over every year for New Year's. We put on our matching pajamas, eat a bunch of shitty food, and watch, you know, Martin Lawrence and everybody else on Def Comedy Jam. And then when I went to NYU, I would go to the Boston Comedy Club on Sunday nights. It was Black Night. And I would see
God,
like
that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I remember that.
and I would see a bunch of people who I work with now.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, and there was some comedians who would like fucking with one of the girls on the team, and they would like stay in the dorm, and I'd be like, "You're a grown ass man, sleeping in a bunk bed because it's down the block
Bunk
from the
bed.
cellar." Yeah.
So, all right. So, what happened with the book? Did someone approach you to write the book?
Yeah, so I was featured in this Brooklyn magazine. I think it's called Brooklyn Magazine, and and it was like the 50th funny people in Brooklyn, and I was featured in it. And an agent saw that and reached out to me.
Oh,
because
that's so interesting.
Yeah, and it turns out that I ended up knowing him. I knew him. His name is Robert, and I knew him because when I was a journalist, I was an editor at Vibe magazine, and he would come and freelance copy edit for us. And so when we met face to face over lunch, I was like, "You look familiar," and he was like, "You look familiar." And it wasn't until the end of the lunch that we realized we had worked each other. And I was like, kind of his
Such
boss.
a small world.
Yeah.
Like you reconnected. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so we just sat there and we tried to figure out like a good concept. And I didn't really have a concept going in, and we were just talking, and he just said, the highest selling books are diet books. And I said, "Oh, I should just call it Fuck Your Diet." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh."
I know. I love the name, and I love the cover. It's really, I really love this cover.
Thank you.
When you showed it to me at the cellar, I think you showed me a picture of it. No,
Yeah.
obviously not the book itself.
Yeah.
But if I saw this in a store, I would pick it up and look at it,
Oh, good.
which is, I think, huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's you're competing with so many books, and so something has to catch your eye.
And how many pages is this? This seems
About
like
320.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write it?
Well, they gave me 9 months to write it, and I wrote it in 2 because I procrastinated.
Wait a second. 2 months?
Well, but going into it, you have like a proposal. So the proposal is like a very thorough outline. So when I sat down to actually write it, I just looked at my proposal and it was like, okay, let me take that and then make that chapter.
I'm just so impressed that you finished a book. Like, I don't even think I've ever finished reading a book. I mean, I have, but it's just, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to write a book.
It is.
They don't. They really don't. I think they're just like, yeah, you have ideas, you write them down. I mean,
No, you have to. Cause the hardest thing and the easiest thing, because it's a collection of essays, I just really had to wrap up each thing in that chapter. But when you do a book and you have to like make the themes and the characters go throughout the entire book, like that's intense because you have to connect all the dots. And even with this is my life, so the hardest part for me was like remembering all the things that I had like repressed in the crevices of my mind. Because they were just like too emotional or too dark or too sad.
oh God,
And
I
so I
can't
just
wait
had
to
to,
read
like,
it.
you
I
know,
love
pull
that
them
kind of
back
stuff.
out. Yeah.
I mean, I really do. We all have it.
Yeah.
Did you worry about putting anything in the book that someone might get upset or read and judge or?
The only thing, and it's weird because I do talk about my parents and my relationships with them and food. Because when I was a kid in elementary school, I started gaining weight, and my mom put me on a diet. She sent me to school with Slim Fast.
We talked about this,
Yes.
I think, because I was put on diets at 8.
Yeah.
That's when I started, and it made me blow up every
Yeah.
year, get
Yeah.
fatter and fatter.
So she sent me to school with Slim Fast, and then I did a bunch of other like diet things, and that caused some friction because my dad would have to come in the middle and just be like, well, listen, she's just, he would just, because my mother was doing the best that she knew how to do at that time. And she was worried about like my health and just like the bullying. I think she
I was just
going to
say being teased, I bet.
Yeah, I think she was more motivated by the bullying that I was going through because it was really, really bad, really bad. And so, and then I would never be vindicated because I was physically the biggest kid in the class. So they were like, well, she must have did something. And it's like, no, she's the youngest kid here and the biggest kid here. Like emotionally, she can't handle being bullied. Just because she's taller than everybody else doesn't mean she deserves to be bullied.
I know, isn't that interesting?
It is. And I think also that's really good reason why they do the cutoff now, because now if your kid is born after like August or September, they have to wait until the next year because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because emotionally they're not mature enough to be with a kid, like a kid. So my birthday is December 28th. So I started kindergarten at 4 because I entered school when the class, when the kids who were born in 1980 went to kindergarten, but I was 4. And so if you're dealing with me, I'm dealing with the kids who are like born in January to May. They are like 6 months more advanced than I was.
And at that age, it's when you're younger, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. So I was careful about how I portrayed my experiences with my parents because I didn't want to vilify them.
I understand.
I didn't let them read it though because I know that they would have like been like, did that really happen? And my mother is amazing. She was like, I realized that it was eye-opening experience because I knew you were going through so much, but I didn't know how it affected you because I was a kid. I didn't have the words to express how I felt and what I was going through. So she was like, I'm glad that I was able to see your side and, this is your story. So I would never want to change it.
They sound amazing.
Yeah, my parents are really great.
They really do.
They really.
When you keep saying this stuff, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, they allowed me to be a critical thinker. They allowed me to express my opinion. It was never like sit down, shut up, be quiet because they grew up with parents like that. And so I think the best thing that they've ever done is made the decision to not raise us the way that they were raised.
I say it all the time. It's my whole goal with my kids. If there's things I wasn't happy about, I really try. I'm sure I do some of the same things, but I really try to like end the pattern and do it differently.
Yeah.
Because then don't complain about it if you're going to do it with your own kids.
And my mom's, the biggest thing she instilled in me was like, you need to be responsible for yourself because no one's going to care for you the way that you need to care for yourself. And so she was like, yes, I know you're being bullied and everybody's treating you like crap, but that shouldn't impact how you view yourself and you need to stand up for yourself.
So hard when you're a kid.
It is.
That's part of I'm sure that was a big part of the depression is being bullied. I mean,
for sure.
And again, not feeling like you fit in if everyone's making fun of you.
It was bad. They used to like during recess, they would like steal my coat and throw it in the garbage can.
I know.
Which was terrible back then because it was like the crack era of the 80s. I had to like go through crack vials and get my coat out. They threw chicken bones at me and made me pay to be in the family. You know how you play family? They made me pay to be in the family, and I was a maid. And I paid 50 cents. I gave him a whole John F. Kennedy coin. That's hard because kids value money by size. I was like, this is a big coin, 50 cents.
Kids are mean.
They're terrible. Kids are absolutely terrible.
I bet, what? That's something, the work that you can do in the future. I could see you doing something with kids, trying to help with bullying, going and speaking and stuff. Would you like to? I think you should definitely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You went through it yourself.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that kids do a lot of things because they see it in the home. And parents don't want to acknowledge that it comes from the home.
I know.
Because then they feel like they're a bad parent. And it's like, yeah, you are a bad parent.
Right.
But you need to do something now while the kid is still young.
Yeah, they're learning it somewhere. It's the parents. It's not even the kid. It's always.
I don't get mad at kids anymore.
I don't either.
Now because I also have like relatives who have little kids, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get mad at him for doing this thing. It's your fault.
Yeah, you're allowing it.
Yeah.
Or they just are so impatient and just scream right away or say abusive stuff. The hitting. I can't. It's
And also, most people don't talk to kids like they are thinking people. They just yell an order at them. And so whenever I meet a kid, I talk to kids.
That's what we do.
And then people are like, why do kids love you so much? Because I have a conversation with them. I ask them, how's your day? What's going on? What you think? Like, I talk to kids.
And you explain stuff to them. We explain everything. We don't just say, don't do that. It's like, don't do that because this might happen. You have to explain stuff and be a little patient.
And I think it's funny because we all watch like weird, like little kid viral videos. And you'll see like a video of a kid like driving a toy car, but like really driving it, like for real, like parking it and everything. And it's like, if that kid can do that at 3, you don't think this kid can understand critical thinking?
Yeah.
Like you're amazed that he can drive a car at 3, but you don't think that you can sit down and explain like a thought process to them?
Yeah.
Instead of telling them just eat your carrots. It's like this is the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So with the book, how did you start? Like, where did you start with the book? What chapter? Where did you decide to go?
I started at the beginning, and I thought about that. I was like, maybe I shouldn't make it chronological, but I started at the beginning. I started with like my earliest memory of food, which is being watched by my grandmother while my parents worked, and how her obsession with food kind of just
your grandmother.
Yeah, my mother's mother is from South Carolina, and she would watch me when my parents went to work. So I was with her when I was like 3, 4, 5, like Head Start, kindergarten, and she didn't have treats. It wasn't like there was nothing it was no difference from what she ate to what I ate. So if she had liver with gravy and onions, I was having liver with gravy and onions. There was no kitty sandwich for Chloe. It was like, whatever I'm eating, you eating. And you getting a whole plate. too.
Yeah.
There was no kid. I remember the first time I saw like a kid plate. I was like, they make kid plates?
Right. You had like a whole
adult china plate. Fine china.
So from the
whole plate.
fine china.
And you had to eat everything on your plate.
Wow.
And that's like the first chapter I talk about like starving kids in Africa, because that was a big guilt trip. It's like, you got to eat your food because there's starving kids in Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember being like, well, you got Tupperware. Why don't you send them these chicken livers?
Well, part of it, I felt like it was like, you need to eat more. They're starving kids. And then it was like, you're eating too much. You're getting fat. Stop eating so much. It was
it's so confusing. And my grandmother, I say in the book, my grandmother was the type, like, she loves to see you eat her food like that. It's like a sport. She'll sit there and be like, oh, it's good. You like it, right? She'll do color commentary. Look at the way she tearing up that chicken. That chicken must be good. I work real hard on that chicken. That chicken's good. You like my chicken, right? And as soon as he be like, girl, eat like a pig. Look at her. Ate everything. Ain't even leave no bone. You be like, well, you sat there and walked through the whole process.
That's a great, I love that so much. Did you do that on stage?
No.
You should. That's hysterical. I grew up with the same thing. I'm so glad you like my chicken. Yeah, and then it's like, you're really going a little nuts here.
Yeah.
You got to slow down.
Yep.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
All right, hold up. Could you take a little off the P's? You're hitting them too hard. Not action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members for supporting the podcast.
Hold on. Now you're whispering Patreon. Is there a reason you're whispering?
Well, you said to take the p.
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
You ready? Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon member.
Now you got to pause.
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members, is that okay?
It was perfect. Why'd you stop?
Oh, okay. Patreon members.
Cut. Let's go back to the beginning.
Thank you
And action.
Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about...
All right, let's take it back to the beginning. That was perfect. Do it exactly like that.
I just did it well, though,
Except
but why are you
finish it this
starting
time.
over? Thank you so much to all of my patron...
Cut. Why are you screaming?
Because I'm just trying to get through this.
Action.
Thank you so much to all of
Action.
Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast.
Perfect. Keep going.
There's so many P's.
Keep going.
Ad-free episodes.
You could cut this out, right?
For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams where we talk more about being relatively sane.
Hold up. Did we agree on monthly live streams?
Yes, you told me I should do them because it'll get more members.
I don't know how to do a monthly live stream.
Don't you just talk in your phone?
We'll figure it out. Come on, let's get through this. We have to go. We should speed this up.
All right. Thank you so much to all my Patreon members for supporting this podcast. For those of you who don't know, Patreon members get early access to the podcast, ad-free episodes, and access to monthly live streams. We don't know what that is, but whatever, where we talk about being relatively sane. If you want to join our fantastic community that is so corny, go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's Patreon.
I think you said patriot.com.
Go to patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. That's patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Patreon.com/Jessica Kirson. Thanks again.
And cut. That's a wrap.
Ugh. So you got the feeling at a very young age that eating too much, or was it more about like body image stuff? Do you think, like, were you judged? Were you called names by your family and stuff?
No, my family didn't do that. That they would call me big, but see, and I had this conversation with somebody. I said, we have to be very careful how we label children because they internalize it and then they end up taking years to reverse that identity. So I was called big. And what they meant was I was a tall kid.
Yeah.
For my height, for my age, I didn't look 4. I was really tall. You know, the whole time I was growing up, I was tall. So people would always think I was older than I was. But then I would hear big, and I'm thinking big as in like width and size. And so I just internalized it like, oh, I'm big. And so if I ate food and I ate a lot, I was like, oh, well, because I'm big. And so it just kind of reinforced itself. And it wasn't a thing that they obsessed about until I got older, when I was about like 10, 11, and I was wearing like, you know, a grown woman size like 10, 12, that they were like, oh yeah, she's a little big. And then my mother started putting me on a diet, but they didn't use harsh language with me. They would just say, oh, Chloe, you don't need another plate of food. Or my mother would say, oh, we don't need to get this candy because you have something at home. Like that was her like big trickaroo. Like if I wanted something else, she'd be like, you don't even like M&Ms.
You're like, we can have 7 things all over. We can have it at home, in the car.
Yeah, but she would trick me out of not wanting something. She'd be like, you don't like M&Ms. I'm like, I don't. She'd be like, no, you don't.
You like liver.
Yeah. And I'm
you
like,
love liver.
Like, so she would do like reverse psychology in a very loving way. But it wasn't until I was like out dealing with the world and they would react to me. And then I would hear that because they were like, oh, wow, she's big. And then you're just like, oh, okay, I'm big.
Yeah. So you think that being put on diets at a very young age did not help you at all?
No, because I wasn't. It's hard to put a child on a diet who has to go to school and eat school lunch because the school lunch is terrible as well. So I wasn't reinforcing my diet with actual nutrition. It was just trying to limit the portion, but I wasn't getting any nutrition from anywhere else. So then you just end up like carb loading or, you know, eating a bunch of like breads and pizza and all that other stuff. And then I wasn't like doing any physical activity at all. I wasn't a kid that went outside and played and run around and got hot and sweat. I wasn't doing that. I was
thank God, because I think I would have been like a 600-pound kid. Like you'd have to cut me out of a room. I could not stop eating.
Yeah.
So it was good that I was active. So how do you think it affected you during junior high and high school? Because that's the
yeah. Well, thankfully, elementary school was the worst phase for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, not good, but
I know.
No, I'm glad that it got better.
It got better. It was definitely hard because those are like, you know, the most formative years. But by the time I got to junior high school, I found a tribe. I found a group of girls, and I also went from going to elementary school with a bunch of like affluent African American kids to going to a junior high school, which was predominantly West Indian and like Hispanic, and they love big asses and thighs.
Yeah, they do.
And so they were like, you're good. What's wrong with you? We love that in our culture. And I remember one time I was on a playground and I was like, just got there. So I was first year at this new junior high school and we all wore uniforms. And this one kid was like, you're fat. Like boy, like on the playground, like just, I didn't even knew who he was, but whatever. He was
just
like,
out of nowhere, you're fat.
And then another girl, like the older girl, probably like 8th grade, she was like, don't listen to him. You're fine. She was like, just tell them next time they call you fat, just say you have more cushion for the pushing. And I was like, that doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be saying that, but okay, thank you.
You're like, I'm not old enough to say more cushion for the pushing. Yeah. Who's pushing in my cushion?
Right? So, but it was just that kind of gave me the self-confidence to be okay with my body because they were telling me culturally where their standards of beauty were different than American standards of beauty, which is European white standards of beauty.
Yes, it is.
And so that was a relief because I had people just telling me that you look good, you look fine. I had friends. I didn't have friends in elementary school. So I had friends. I had a group of girls that I could hang out with every day. We'd eat lunch together and share chicken wings at the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
And so then when I got to high school, I started playing basketball. So that was another like group of girls that kind of took me in and gave me a makeover and helped me out. And I lost weight naturally because I started playing sports. So it definitely got better as I got older. But there was other remnants, and that's the thing that I really kind of like pinpoint in the book. It's
I want to hear about that.
I think when I was dealing with my acceptance in elementary school, it just manifests in other ways, which is in elementary school, I was working really hard to be invisible so that I wouldn't be bullied. And then that kind of makes you not stand up. Even now, we were talking about earlier, it's like I walk into a room and I'm like, let me find my corner. And then I want to make sure that I can like ease my way into the room versus like being intrusive and people rejecting me.
And then people think, because people think this with me, then they think I'm either bitchy or intimidating or standoffish. And I'm like, no, this is because of my own shit. Yeah. This is nothing. This is not about you.
So many times, especially in comedy, I've gotten to know people and they're like, when I first met you, I didn't think you liked me. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about you.
You're like, I'm working on liking me.
Yeah, I wasn't like, you weren't even a factor. Just because I just said hello and I didn't say anything else, and they think, oh, she doesn't like me. And it's like, no, I'm just getting to know you. Because I know, especially in comedy, I know when people are nuts And so I'm like, I don't even want to engage with this person because I already see where this is going. And there's so many times, especially in my group of friends, and they'll be like, no, this person's cool. Fast forward 2 years, and I'm like, I fucking told
I'm
you.
the same way. I could talk to someone and be like, they're fucking nuts.
Yep.
I'm running away.
Yep. And so I'm very cautious. I'm very protective about like who I engage with and how I engage with people. And people think I'm just a bitch. And it's just like, no, I'm just saving myself.
You're protecting yourself. You're just you have to learn how to be aloof in this business for sure.
Yeah. And it also helps having gone through my childhood because it's like people are very fickle and they like who they like and it's a popularity game. And, you know, you have to present yourself in a certain way. And so there's a lot of, you know, crossover between both those experiences of like acceptance and standing out and being who you are and being, you know, confident. And so it definitely helped that I went through that stuff because I can spot a lot of those same trends and behaviors. But I do think that my experience with body image and body weight has definitely impacted not only like my self-esteem and how I think about myself but also dating relationships, work relationships, interacting with like people in professional spaces. It's just like you become so aware of like your physical body and how you look. And, you know, it's like when you sit down, you do an interview and you're like, okay, let me tuck my shirt this way inside. This is so funny. I used to do warm up like just a couple months ago for a talk show. And one of the guests was Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
And so she comes out and she sits down and it's her and the host. And they're in just 2 chairs in the center stage. And the whole time Nancy's holding an iPad in front of her stomach.
Yeah.
And the host was like, and we're going to find out what's in that iPad. They never find out what's in an iPad. But as a fat person, I'm like, she's hiding her stomach, stupid. That's what she's doing.
Oh my God, that is hysterical. Can you imagine if the iPad had a picture of six pack?
And it's
they
like,
never said why she was holding an iPad.
Well, no, because the host tried to get her to be like, what's up with that iPad? And Nancy was like, oh, blah, blah. You know, she just like brushed it off. But
that is
like the fat radar in me was like, she's hiding her stomach.
Yeah,
and you don't realize that's what she's doing. And
I notice that shit all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times I'll look down and women are covering their stomach with their bag when I'm performing.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about yourself now?
I like myself, but I have my moments. I still have body dysmorphia, which is like the hardest thing because like I'll see myself and like literally just maybe a couple days ago, I might've been high too, but like, like I was in the house all day. You know how you're in a house and you're having like your little house shorts and like a t-shirt.
I love I might have been high.
Yeah, I think I might have been high. And so like I have mirrors. I have like not a wall of mirrors, but I have like those IKEA like square mirrors that you like can put up. And so I have a wall like that, small accent wall like that. And so that's like the main mirror in my living room. And so I had like my little house shorts and like a t-shirt and I was just in the house all day and I looked at myself and I was like, oh, I look good. And then literally like as the sun went down, it was like Shrek. As the sun went down, I looked and I was like, God damn, who is that? Like literally. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I thought I looked good like 45 minutes ago.
I know, it's bad. It really is. I weighed myself and I'm like, I'm low compared to what, you know, I've gone up, I've gone down. But I feel like I've gained 50 pounds. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I feel heavy now.
So do I.
And it's weird because me talking about the book, people are like, you look great. And it's like, I feel heavy now. I feel like
I know
breathing. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I don't know if I'm driving too much and not walking enough, but I'm just like,
I do too. I feel like a fat.
The worst part is like, I know, and I'm working out. I'm getting back to working out, and I definitely was indulgent over the holidays and stuff like that. So I give myself space because I know I'm gonna like do the thing that I need to do to get back into like a good fighting weight. You know, good like walking around and living and being able to run in case somebody tries to rob me. You know? That's like my goal.
Or arrest you.
Or arrest me.
Yeah,
or
that's
zombies.
A big one.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
I want to have a good sprint in me. That's my fitness goal. And
that's a good point because I don't have a sprint. I should because I'm a Jew.
Yeah, you need.
I should start getting some
you
kind of sprint
hide.
going on.
You gotta be good at hiding. Then.
Well, we're all good at hiding.
Yeah.
You know, I could even probably go to a forest and make it work.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, this is depressing. You and I.
Yes. But that's how I think. And then I know when I'm getting heavy, if I'm on stage and I hear myself breathing, that's when I know.
Right.
Like it's just a little like, blah, blah, blah. And I know they can't hear it, but in my mind, I was like,
Chloe, do you know why I'm laughing so hard also? Because there's some comics after every joke, they go,
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I can't. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I literally said to somebody, I was like, is this a part of the bit?
Chloe, I've been talking about it for days. It's a tick.
It's so annoying.
And that's not a health thing because that person's thin and totally fine.
Yeah.
But
I was looking around the room being like, nobody else is disgusted by this sound?
No, I'd call 911 if I didn't hear it. I mean, I'd think something was wrong.
You know what else is really bad about the Cellar? Well, no, not what else is bad about the Cellar. The Cellar's a great place. But what's bad about the Cellar stage is that it creaks. And so when I'm standing on the stage, I can hear
So where are you? Oh, I know. I always think if I fall through this floor, I'm done. I'm done.
Like, do they hear it? Do they hear me creaking this stage? And it's just the stage. It's just the stage.
I think the people up front do, but if it happens to you, it happens to a lot of people.
No. I know. I know it's just the stage, but in my mind, especially when you go, and you're just like, I need to get my life together. And then I'm thinking about all happening as I'm telling jokes.
Me too. I'm literally telling jokes thinking you look horrible, your shirt is too tight.
Especially when you get that weird
your
angle.
Your hair looks bad.
Like if you're in McDougal and you see yourself in the mirror, you're like,
oh, I know. So there's a stage at the Comedy Cellar for people don't know. Comedy Cellar in New York City has 3 stages. Mm-hmm. One of them you can see yourself. It's so horrible. I never even discussed this. But while you're performing, you're looking at yourself in a mirror.
There's 3 angles to the mirror. There's 3 angles. There's one on the left, there's one on the right, and there's one dead center. And the worst is the right one because it's two angles that meet. There's 2 mirrors that meet on an angle, so you see like an angular mirror portrayal of yourself. And you're
you look like a greyhound. I know.
And you just hear.
Then I can't make it through sometimes let me tell you something. Do you know how many times I've made my way on stage and I've knocked over people's drinks with my ass?
Yeah. Just last night I was like, I apologize to whoever's shoulder I just rubbed my entire ass on. I feel like they should make the way to the stage a little bit bigger.
You have to be anorexic to make it through that.
Know.
I'm like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I'm knocking over people, glasses. It's bad.
It is bad, but I think they like it. It's like when men go to WrestleMania and then the guy sweats on them. They're like, I was a part of it.
Well, the people always feel bad for me because I'm heavy. They're like, don't know, it's okay. Don't worry. I hear them.
Or the worst is when the wife hits the guy, move your foot. Move.
Yeah.
You don't see her coming?
Let her through. She's big. Have you ever been heckled? Really bad about looks or anything?
No.
Thank God.
I get the opposite. When I was heavier, so when I started comedy, I was probably the heaviest I'd ever been. And I had just broken up with my boyfriend, so I was really big, and I had a short haircut. I had a Caesar, short, I had no hair. My hair was cut all off. And I was really big. And I would say jokes about earlier, especially earlier when you're doing jokes, your jokes aren't super personal, but they're topical. Which is, and you're trying to portray it like it's personal. So you just do a dating joke like it's you, but it's not really you. And so I would do jokes about dating and men. And I remember one time this one woman, I was at Levity Live. And I was in the hallway after the show, and she came up to me, this old white lady, took both her hands and cupped my face and goes, "You are beautiful.
Aww.
You're going to find somebody." And I was like, thank you, ma'am. So I get that.
That's sweet.
It is sweet.
I get that off stage. I mean, I do it in my act, but it's you have such a pretty face. You would never know it with all those crazy faces because I look psychotic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have a beautiful face. Oh,
thank you.
You do.
And I think that's another thing is me being able to receive those compliments.
I know.
Because when I was younger, I'd be you're just saying that because you're trying to go to heaven.
But that's the work that you've done on your. How long have you been in therapy?
Very recently, in the past 6 months. But I also know that working on the book has been cathartic, and also getting to a place in comedy where I feel like I'm being my true, authentic self on stage, and that takes years to get to that point. So when I see myself, especially doing the Cellar show on Comedy Central, when you see yourself, you're just no, that's me. That's really me. It's not.
I feel like you're very you on stage. That's why I love you on stage because No, I can't. It's interesting. I watched someone last night, and I was talking to my friend about it today, and I was like, I feel like when she got off stage, I don't know her. Like, she had funny jokes, but I don't know who she is. It's kind of seems like it's put on. And I laugh the hardest at people. I feel like they're really being their true self and being vulnerable on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it comes to the book, how different was it writing a book? And because you've gone on a book tour,
Yes.
how has that been?
It's been really interesting. So I created the book tour myself, and when
You did?
Yeah. So most book companies, they won't do a book tour unless you're like a big person. So when people think like, you're doing a book tour, it's like most times that person like worked it themselves. And so what I did was I reached out to comedy clubs, my manager, and I would do like one nights. And I made it a part of my book tour. And then at the end, we had a local book vendor sell books there.
That's
and so
great.
I was able to
love that.
do a show. Because I also realized that people are going to come to me via my book and not really know that I'm a stand-up, like a true stand-up. Because, people say, I'm a comedian. It's like,
I know.
You're not.
Everyone says that.
I know. It pisses me off like every year when they do like those list of fun. I think they stopped doing them, like the list of funny women in comedy.
They still do them.
Chloe, but it would be like Tina Fey.
I know.
And it's just like, she's not a stand-up.
I know.
I digress. So
yeah, Betty White.
Yeah.
It's like Betty White's never had a bottle thrown at her head.
I know, right? I know. Betty,
Maybe she has.
Listen, until you've had to ask, where the fuck is my money at?
Yeah.
You're not a real stand-up.
I know. Yeah, it's so crazy. So you're doing these clubs.
Yeah. So I did some clubs, and I did that for 2 weeks, and I hit up Chicago and Philly, DC, and
Good.
LA, and San Francisco. So I had some, but I also had a little bit of trouble too, because a lot of people still don't know who I am. So going to a city that I'm not familiar with and I don't have like name recognition, it was hard to get people to come out. And so I actually had to cancel my show in LA. But LA is a very different,
It's a completely different.
Yeah.
I have a hard time there too.
Yeah, so I learned that. So it was definitely a learning process, and I think the best thing about it is that even in some of the places that it didn't go as well as I had hoped it go, it was still a learning process, and it motivated me to tell me I still have a lot of work that I need to do as a stand-up, and getting my name out there. And I also was very, very proud of myself for not taking it personally.
That's the biggest part. It's so hard.
Yeah. That's how I was like, oh, the therapy is working, because I cannot take it personally. There's things that I could have done better as far as like promoting it, but it wasn't an indicator of like, they don't like Chloe. And I think, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, to be like, yo, they just don't like me. What is it? They just don't like me. And I realized it's not me. It's like,
and plus it happens to everyone. I mean,
everybody.
Like I was saying that I had a billboard in Times Square, a special that just came out, The Tonight Show, all this shit. It was crazy what was going, all these podcasts. Yeah. And then I went to the Mall of America that weekend in Minneapolis. And on a Thursday night, I showed up and there were like 22 people in a 350 seat room. And I was like, this never ends.
Oh, no.
Never. And it's like no matter how funny you are, it's all about numbers and social media, all that shit.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not. And I just reached 10,000 followers. And legit, once I reached 10,000 followers, there were people that my manager was trying to talk to. They were like, oh, yeah, of course I'll talk to her.
That's
like
interesting.
Once. And then they said like, oh, we're so glad that she's like doing good on social media. And it's like, so you just sit here and watch. And
they
wait.
do. That's all it's like having YouTube people on that aren't even comics.
Yeah.
Podcast people. It's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, you're doing great. You have it. Like, I know that sounds crazy. I kind of know who has it and who will go places and who won't. Don't you feel like that? I kind of do. I can watch people and be like, this person's never. I know that sounds horrible.
See,
but
to me, it's like, I think because of how I had to deal with like adversity, I look into see who has like the most sheer will and determination and like work ethic.
It is. That's what I'm saying. It's not just about who's fun. It's a very small part of it. But you're a business person. And plus, you have to go through those things to learn what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like I always, like you're talking about the tour and showing up and you learn things and didn't take it personally. Oh my God, I can't even tell you how many times I had to learn by failing and just being rejected. And those are the only times I learned.
Yeah, and by the time I was when I was a journalist, I was also a staff writer at the Village Voice, and I worked with so many icons like Michael Musto and Nat Hentoff and Tom Robbins and Lynn Yeager. So I don't know if people know, Lynn Yeager was an amazing fashion writer for the Village Voice, and she has a very eclectic style. Like if you look her up, she wears like bright orange hair and like geisha girl lipstick, and like she literally paints her face like, not paint, but like white, like ghost white. And I remember we were sitting in her office, and I would just go and like talk with, like, when else would I be able to go and sit and talk with Lynn Yeager? Like, these are just like icons in journalism. Yeah. And she said, and so what happens is at the Village Voice, it's defunct now, but each week we would have a pitch meeting. You sit at this big table with the editor-in-chief, and it would be everybody from the editor-in-chief down to, you know, like the receptionist, and people would just pitch their stories, and everybody would weigh in. And I would just pitch my stories, pitch. And some things were like, yeah, that's great. No. Yeah, that's great. And I remember seeing Lynn, and she was like, you know what I love about you? She goes, you don't take no for an answer.
Oh, that's great.
She was like, you don't get upset with a no. Like, you just keep going, and it's so great. And I was like laughing, because I'm like in my 20s, like, yeah, thanks, great. Okay, cool. But she was like, that's great. That's great that you just don't listen.
No, it is that you just keep going. I say you have to be a warrior. You really do. I mean, yeah, it's so, I'm so glad that you came to do the podcast.
I'm looking for my piece of tissue.
Oh,
Hand me another one. Thank you. Sorry.
I should have brought a piece of tissue.
It's fine.
You can blow your nose. I don't give a shit.
Well, I don't have corona, so.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we all do. Life is not easy.
Listen, I was thinking about that. I told my mother, I was like, I should get a face mask. She was like, for what? Like,
I feel like if we're gonna get it, we're gonna get it.
Like, I think it's like now it's like with herpes, like like 2 in 4 people have herpes.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point?
I think
HPV. It's always something.
Yeah, I think, and there's different. Now I feel like I'm covered in disease.
No, I think you just have to make sure that your immune system is pretty good. You know, eat a balanced diet, take your vitamins, get some vitamin D and calcium and all that stuff. And
I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
I'm just not. Do you take vitamins every day?
I try. I don't like vitamins, but I try to take them. If not, I'll take them like every other day.
Yeah.
But I watched like one of those like holistic guys on like Instagram, and he like listed off like all the things that you should take.
I can't.
It's like 7 things.
Yeah. No,
like
fish oil and
fish oil was it. Turmeric, probiotics, prebiotics,
ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can't. I can barely have breakfast. I just can't worry about these vitamins.
What's your favorite? I'm a cereal girl. What's your favorite?
Cereal? I love cereal.
Yeah.
I actually like most cereals, except for I don't love chocolate cereal.
I don't like marshmallows.
Really?
No,
I love them.
I never got into marshmallows.
That's interesting.
I'm a Honey Nut Cheerio girl.
I love Honey Nut Cheerios. I love Corn Flakes, Frosted Flakes. I like Rice Krispies. Everything. Shredded wheat.
I've never gotten into
grape nuts.
Wheat. Never like grape nuts. Ugh, no.
You don't like that kind of shit?
No, I don't like stuff that transforms in milk.
Oh.
Grape nuts gets mushy.
Some marshmallows do. They float on top and get
yeah. It's weird. Like for a fat kid, I didn't really have like a lot of bad food cravings.
Me either. That's what happens when you grow up being put on diets.
Yeah.
you end up binging on like chicken. Yeah, I'm serious. I could eat like last night at the stand. I ordered a whole chicken. I did not need to order a whole chicken.
Yeah.
I could have ordered a half and been fine. And I know to people it sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of oil and sugar. There's a sauce on it. Like it's not. I always have too much.
The worst is when I'm on the road and I'm trying to eat healthy and I just can't find anything on the road, and then I end up going to Walmart and buying that chicken, and then
they have
destroy that chicken in my hotel room. And I feel bad for the cleaning lady. She's like, "What's all these bones?
Will you please videotape that the next time you do it?" We should both videotape ourselves going to Walmart and getting a chicken and then eating it in our hotel rooms.
You know, okay, so the fattest thing I ever did on the road was I was in a hotel by myself, and I had gotten dinner from somewhere and I got dessert, but I realized too late that my hotel didn't have a microwave, and it was like a molten chocolate cake, and I was like, it has to be molten. I cannot eat it. And so
You lit a lighter?
No, I didn't light a lighter. What I did was, it came in like a plastic Tupperware thing.
Yeah.
And so like I cracked it open and then I took the blow dryer and I put it on a high heat and then I covered that whole thing with the towel so that it was insulated.
This is the best story ever.
And then I realized I was like, I am fat.
You're an addict.
Yeah.
It's like torching crack or something.
Yeah. And I just sat there and I just let it cook
Did
up.
it work?
Yeah, I got hot.
Holy shit,
It took
I'm going to
probably
do that this
like
weekend.
45 minutes, but
Can you imagine you just blew hot air on it?
yeah, just hot. It was like a convection oven.
Is that story in your amazing book?
No, that's not. Another fat story that is in the book is when I was dating my boyfriend. You know, summertime, you stay out like all day because you're like dating. So you just do like all stuff for a summer Saturday.
Right.
So we went to breakfast.
When things are good.
Yeah. We went to breakfast and got brunch and I had bacon and it's like, I'll save this bacon for later. That's how you know you got a problem.
Of course. You can't waste bacon.
Can't waste bacon. So
Yeah.
I wrapped it up and I put it in my purse. And then... And the funny thing is, like, I have a whole boyfriend who loves me, who's like watching me do this, and he just didn't care. He was very supportive. And so then later in the day, we go out somewhere else and we're with friends and we get pizza. And I get pizza, and I was like, "Oh, I got that bacon."
Oh, that's
and I
amazing.
take the bacon out and I put it on top of my pizza
Yeah.
and eat it. People are like, "Where the fuck you get that bacon from?" It was like, it's been a long day.
You have garlic powder. I so understand. Bacon on pizza sounds really good
was
right
really
now.
good.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah.
So Chloe's book is called Fuck Your Diet. You can get it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Right?
Yeah, you can go to fyourdiet.com and you can pick whichever way you want to purchase it. The audiobook is available there, and whatever online place you want to buy a book is there too.
Yeah, go to fyourdiet.com. You guys, I read 2 chapters and I was like amazed at how interesting and funny it was and just how smart you are.
Thank you.
I mean, really, I'm not used to comics being... I mean, they're funny and creative, but I'm always impressed when I meet a very smart comedian that can write like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive. I
And
love
have
it.
conversations outside of comedy.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
That's hard.
very, but not for me. I'd rather not talk about comedy with comics, but it always comes down. Some people, they just can't not talk about it.
No.
I'd rather talk about this.
Yeah.
All this stuff that you put in there.
Because it shows that you're a fully functioning adult.
Yeah. And I've been in therapy, obviously, my whole life and dealt with food stuff. But you don't have to even deal with food stuff to read that. It's so...
Yeah, and I want people to realize that. I know that you see the cover and it's McMee and popcorn bra, and it is fun, but it actually has like some real like, gravity to it. So
it does.
It has like real issues that talk about political things that happen and shape the way we eat in this country. Like, for example, the reason why soy became a big crop in the U.S. is because of the Japanese internment camps during World War II. And so that they started growing soy to supplement their shitty food, and that's how they were able to like survive. And then farmers, because the internment camps were in like middle America, they saw this and they started harvesting.
I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
I read some of that stuff that you wrote, and I found it really interesting how they try to get us. And
oh yeah,
it's so God. I mean, we should all know more about that stuff. You also have an album called Big Dick Energy, which is such a great name.
Thank you. Yes, I self-produced my debut album. It came out New Year's Day, and it's available on all streaming platforms. So
you self-produced it.
Yeah.
Like I just love that you're doing this.
I have to.
A lot of people don't.
I can't wait. I don't like. It pisses me off when I hear people say, "I'm just waiting for such and such."
Chloe, that's 90% of comics wait. I'm like, have fun waiting.
You can't
because
wait.
you're gonna have nothing.
Yeah, and I think also the thing is the hardest part about self-producing something is that everybody wants an immediate reaction, and I'm okay. I'm okay with the long game.
Me too.
I'm okay with releasing things and then people discovering me at whatever point they discover me, and then they have like this catalog of stuff to harvest,
that is
on.
so important.
And people don't realize that. People think that everything is supposed to be a splash, but I think when you think like us and you've been in through life like us, you know that like some people don't see us until like the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. Like I've literally had interactions with people, especially like guys. I'll meet a guy and then like just casually, and I'll see him like 2-3 more times after that. Not dating, but like he'll look at me and be like, "You're attractive," and I was like, "Well, we've had full conversations like 2 months going, and you've never really looked at like you just." I've seen people see me and then see me.
I have too.
Yeah,
a lot in this business. A lot. Like, I always knew you, but I really didn't know you. I'm like, you've seen the same thing for years.
Yeah, same joke.
But now you're just
same story.
And it's also Listen, you have a buzz and there's a vibe, and that's a very important thing. That's why you put out as much content as you can, like you're doing, and that just keeps feeding that buzz. Because you do. Certain people have that, and certain people don't. So check out Chloe's album.
Big Dick Energy.
Look at my glasses. Big Dick.
And thank you to the Comedy Cellar. I was able to record that at the Village Underground, and you will not hear the stage creaking because I made sure.
Oh, that's so good. And then your podcast, Social Misfit.
My podcast, Social Misfit. So yeah, if you want to hear me talk and wax poetic about the ongoings of pop culture and politics, that's me.
Oh, you're great.
Thank
I
you.
have full confidence in you.
Yeah,
I do. I see big things.
Oh.
I mean, it's already, I'm not talking about money and fame. I'm just saying it's, for everyone listening to this, and a lot of comics listen to this too around the country, you cannot, like Chloe said, wait for things to happen for you. You have to just keep putting more and more and more content out there. So you're a great example for people.
Thank you.
It's terrific.
And we're reminded about that every night when you go to the cellar. They always show Charlie Chaplin movies on loop, and he did all that himself.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, and it's like they think about the things that they didn't have access to, and we have access to it now. Like we have phones that shoot in 4K. You can get a podcast set up on Amazon for $60 with 2 microphones and a board. Like you have to just do things yourself.
Yeah.
And I never want to wait for anybody to give me what I think I can already get myself.
Well, that's, if every comic had that opinion and view, they would be a lot more successful. It's hard. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, you got to work on it because it's what matters now. It's how the business is. So anyway, I love you. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
Go buy Chloe's book and her album.
Yes.
You need to listen to her. You need to watch her. Her stand-up is unbelievable. And again, writing this book, finishing it, putting it out there, doing a tour is like unheard of. I mean, there's a lot of people who start books and never,
That's true.
most people never get it out there. So I'm really impressed.
Yeah. And really fun thing about my book, after 1 week after it came out, my editor hit me up and told me that they had to print more copies.
Oh, I love that.
So it's doing pretty good.
That's
so I'm excited.
great.
Yeah.
No, people will get it from listening to this because
Yes.
I'm serious.
Thank you.
It's great. So I love you. Thanks again for coming.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.
Bye.